Hey guys, how's it going? I put up a video yesterday, but I ended up deleting it. As I was in the parking lot on my way to the grocery store this morning, I started thinking, tardive dyskinesia. I was like, why am I thinking that? Tardive dyskinesia, tardive dyskinesia. And realized that I had been saying akathisia in the video when I really meant to say tardive dyskinesia. So here's this video. So I'm going to talk today about both tardive dyskinesia and akathisia. Tardive dyskinesia involves involuntary movements like grimacing or pursing the lips, excessively blinking the eyes, whereas akathisia is an internal restlessness that leads to the inability to sit still. As far as akathisia, one of my clients who has schizophrenia does really well on his meds. His speech is fluid, he's confident, he can't tell he has schizophrenia, except that sometimes he rocks back and forth, and that's akathisia. And akathisia is associated with schizophrenia and also with antipsychotic drugs. As far as tardive dyskinesia, I've had that before. A few years ago, I was on what was way beyond the recommended dosage of 2 different antipsychotics, and one day I just woke up and I couldn't stop sticking my tongue out, and so I went to my doctor and I said, something's wrong, I think I have tardive dyskinesia. And so what he did was he put me down on a much lower dose, but still near the maximum recommended dose. I've always had akathisia. Way back before I was medicated or diagnosed, I used to pace back and forth. That went on for a really long time until about 2.5 years ago, 2 years and a few months ago, I decided I had had enough of pacing. I didn't want to do it anymore. I'm probably really aggravating my downstairs neighbor. So I went on this drug to control my akathisia, and it worked. Now when I get up and I start walking around, if I do that too much, I'll get dizzy and I'll have to sit down. So most of my time I spend sitting. One unlikely thing that happened due to the medication I went on for akathisia was that I stopped having panic attacks. I used to have panic attacks about 1 to 3 times a week, and they were just horrible. I hated them a lot. I hated them more than I hated having schizophrenia. And one day I went on that medication and I had one more panic attack when I was stuck in the car for like 5 hours, and that was the last panic attack I had. But that usually doesn't happen with this particular medication, so it was kind of unusual, but a good thing. A few months ago, I was in a volunteer study testing a new medication, and I was Skyping with the study doctor, and he asked me to open my mouth, and he saw that my tongue was moving back and forth. My TD had come back. I was aware of it, but I was able to hide it, and the reason why I hid it was because I know it's caused by too much antipsychotics, and I really didn't want to go on a lower dose of antipsychotics. But basically, anytime I wrote with a pen, I would stick my tongue out like that, and it's kind of a minor side effect. A couple years ago, I did cut back on my antipsychotics, but with horrible consequences. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't think clearly, I worried about everything, and I had this fear of losing it and going crazy. So after about 2 months of cutting back on my antipsychotics, I went right back to where I was at. School was coming up and I needed to think clearly for the last semester. The thing to worry about with tardive dyskinesia, or TD as it's often called, is that it can be permanent. If you don't treat it, you can have it the rest of your life. Whether you take antipsychotics or not, it'll still be there. It'll be a permanent change, which scares me a little bit. As far as like medications for tardive dyskinesia, I don't believe there is any. So it's just a matter of cutting back on antipsychotics. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.